I had a dream that was so intense that I never will forget it. In this dream, I walked through the area and suddenly I heard screams. So I ran to the source of the screams and noticed that there was someone stuck to a street lamp. And I wanted to help him and asked what I could do. The person then told me not to touch anything. And he said, "It's the metal, it's the metal." And I didn't get it at first. And then I saw that the person starting from the spot where he was stuck was covered by some kind of flesh. And this flesh slowly climbed further and further up his arm and literally puts itself over him. It moved up the arm, over the shoulder, and the upper body, down the legs, and also over the head, until the person was completely covered by this, stomach. I call it stomach because in the dream, people were literally digested by this stomach. And so in the dream, I became terrified that I too might come into contact with some kind of metal and the same would happen to me. So I walked carefully through the area and had to watch how people were, eaten by coins that was in their pockets and even by some kind of tiny thumbtacks attached to the wall and stuff like that. So, this flesh formed immediately when you came in contact with any kind of metal, no matter how big or small it was. Even a tiny needle or something would eat you up. It was a crazy dream, man. There was no indication in the dream of what caused it and what the purpose behind all it was. Since then I've been wondering what this dream was all about. Very strange dream, man. What you think?
That is super, super strange. Yeah, it almost kind of reminded me of Venom. Remember the movie Venom?
Never seen it.
It's the villain of Spider-Man, where this thing came from outer space and it's kind of like a liquid blob, black blob. And it basically jumped on Spider-Man and then like got his powers basically, and then kind of transformed and jumped onto another being. So he was kind of like a parasite being. So he would hop on to host by
Yeah.
this kind of like liquid, kind of like what you described of how it would crawl up his arm and being digested almost in a sense. In the movie The Blob, too.
Oh yeah.
That's another classic movie.
Yeah, I remember the Blob. I watched the Blob the original Blob when I was just a kid. I watched it with my parents. So yeah, this Blob, he also ate everything, shoot everything up, people, cars, everything. It was great. Is Venom the one with the long tongue?
Yes.
Yeah,
And the sharp teeth.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it before in comics, but I never saw the movie. It's what a crazy dream, man. It was really scary and it felt very real. Sometimes I have dreams that feels real, man. It was very scary in the dream, and I was so afraid to touch anything. I mean, go by your day, maybe at work or wherever, and try not to touch metal only
Yeah.
once in this 8 or 9 hours that you're working. Try to not touch metal. It's
Impossible.
literally not. It's impossible. It's impossible. I'm touching metal right now. I'm touching my microphone stand. It's made from metal. And I touch the doorknobs and I touch so much metal just by accident. What a crazy dream. I wonder what this dream is about.
Again, I have mysterious dreams that just appear like every 10 to 15 years. This you kind of remember it because it is so vivid and you actually feel like you're physically there, you know. I used to have dreams about, the Chucky doll from Child's Play movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that fucker. He would show up in my dreams and chase me around. But me and him would actually tussle around, and it felt so real. And again, it always end up being in the kitchen at my old house. We were by the refrigerator, and every time I got near the refrigerator, I always get to throw him in the freezer. And it's always the freezer, and he's just in there screaming, cursing. And the stove is right by the refrigerator, so I put the stove on, and I go in there to grab his hand because I want to put his hand on there. But when I grab his hand, it turns into a human baby hand. and I would stick it on a stove, and it would, like a crying, screaming baby would be screaming instead of a guy. And I throw the hand back into the freezer, and it'd be Chucky again, screaming and cursing. And I would do this a few times, but it was psychologically kind of like weird to me that it would turn into a human baby hand that I would like throw on the stove top and watch it burn to a crisp, and the screaming pain of a baby. Weird. It always kind of gets me when I'm like, why do I reminisce that? What link do I have to that?
The same dream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
every 10 to 15 years, I would,
Whoa,
well,
this is crazy. The same dream
yeah,
for 10 to 15 years.
I'd say 10. So I've probably popped up 3 times in my life.
Yeah, you're not too
Not
old.
that old.
You're not
Not
that
that
old.
old. But yes, enough to remember it vividly. And then like being weirdly in the kitchen at all these times with this Chucky doll, fighting, wrestling around with it with a knife and shit, and then throwing it into the freezer. But yeah, why the freezer and why this baby hand?
Yeah,
It's
the baby
really
hand is strange, man. The baby hand is
strange,
strange.
scary.
There's another dream, a very, very realistic dream. It felt very, yeah, realistic. In this dream, I was obviously some kind of observer of a war scenario. I saw a person in uniform lying on the ground, and this person was shot at. I could also partially see the shooter from a kind of, let's say, first person perspective, like you have in a video game. A person was shot at, and this person was obviously hit by a bullet and fell to the ground. And he was then lying on his stomach, leaning on his arms and pushing his upper body upwards. You know what I mean? It seemed as if the person was no longer able to move his legs, so his legs were done, probably shot in the spine or so. When the person pushed himself up, he let out a loud scream that makes your blood freeze, man. It was a very, very crazy scream, like an unreal scream. Almost at the same time, he was hit by another bullet, which entered his left armpit. It probably did something very bad to the inside of his chest, because when he screamed again, a huge gush of blood came shooting out of his nose and his mouth at the same time, like a waterfall. I still can see it if I close my eyes. Like really crazy black and red blood, like unreal. And I saw it from the shooter's perspective, but I felt it as the person who was hit. Very bizarre. And here comes the crazy thing. And I had this dream right when the conflict started in the Ukraine. So they were not even talking about war yet when I had that dream. I don't know. I talked to a friend of mine. His name is Dieter, and he claims to be telepathic. And he said this was telepathy. You felt something from the battlefield, and I say, not even talking about war.
It's like remote viewing in your sleep.
I don't know, man. I don't know if something like that is possible.
It's what's his name? Crowley? Or are you saying his name wrong? That sleeping prophet.
You're talking about Aleister Crowley? No.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Again, he'd have his dreams too, and having these premonitions. I think that was awesome. And yeah, he would what else did he do? He would diagnose people by just looking at them or just feeling their hand or something like that, knowing exactly what's going on with them, and had remedies for people to do. And I think he helped thousands and thousands of people.
I barely remember dreams, but if I do, it's always bad dreams. I have a lot of nightmares. I don't know why I have a lot of nightmares about, and there is something that follows me for years now. Yeah, I do dream about lions for years now. Let's say, I don't know, at least 10 years. I'm dreaming about lions. Lions that are sleeping, lions that are awake, lions that are awake and laying on the ground chilling, and lions that are trying to attack me and kill me. And I remember one dream. I'm walking through some kind of camp. It looks like we're in the desert. I don't know, like savannah or desert. And there's this camp with tents, and there's a lot of lions laying around, like sleeping and chilling. And I remember walking through all these lions laying there, like on my toes, very very quiet, trying to sneak through this group of lions. And suddenly, some one of these lions wakes up. I'm just running, and suddenly in front of me, I mean, it's a dream, right? In front of me, there a door appears. Suddenly, there's a door, and I'm going through this door, and behind this door, it's completely black. Like if you would take a look into space, it's black, and I saw stars, and I saw some kind of, I don't know, steps in front of me, but between every step there is a gap, so I have to jump from step to step. I don't know, 3 or 4 steps in, I slipped and fell, and then I woke up, and the whole bed was shaking because sometimes you dream you fall, and then you
Yes.
everything is shaking. It was so crazy, man.
I hate that.
Yeah,
And you're like almost in a sweat too because we're falling. And like once you hit the ground, you just, yeah, I've had a few of those. I don't like those.
no.
I'm afraid of heights. So that's not a good mix.
Oh, you too. Me too. I talked to this guy who's practicing astral projection and all this dream stuff, and he tells me sometimes if you have a out of body experience, he said sometimes it feels as if you get pulled out of your body, so you feel I don't know, a push or a pull on your leg or
Mhm.
your arm. I I feel it too sometimes, right in that stage between awake and sleeping. Do you know what I mean? Uh, It's a strange feeling. Sometimes you're not really sleeping, but you're not really awake anymore.
Another strange thing is that sleep is like the cousin of death. It's just that fine line of where that teeter totters,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
That's how people can just die in their sleep,
yes.
if you're way too old. And then actually that's the way I hope to go in my bed, uh, peacefully. But yeah, a weird concept that we kind of we slither into death. And I heard too, we have over 1,000 dreams in one night, and we only remember one.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Thousand
yeah,
dreams in one night.
1,000. Yeah, it makes you how fast these dreams are pumping out, right?
Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder
Yeah.
why. Yeah, and you're right. Over here, you also say sleep is the cousin of death. Back then, when I was very young, I was afraid to sleep. I was afraid to fall asleep. I didn't want to fall asleep because I was afraid that I might die in my sleep.
Yeah.
I was just a kid, but I was afraid that I might die in my sleep. I think I heard that some aunt or I don't know,
Sure.
someone's grandma died in her sleep, and then I was afraid.
You ever heard the bizarre cases of spontaneous human combustion
Like people burn shit
with
like that.
inside themselves? Like they would just be sleeping or chilling. And there's cases back in the 50s of they have pictures of these people who are just they're
Like
sitting in their chair or they're in bed and then the only reminiscing of their like feet or hands are left over from being scorched from the inside.
like is this really a thing? I remember that I heard about that stuff like years back, many years back. I never got into that
It's a
stuff.
it's a controversial
Yeah,
theory of how these incidents happen
I
with these
remember
cases.
reading one article about spontaneous human combustion, and there was this guy explaining that maybe sometimes people stood too close to the stove and farted.
Maybe.
And I,
Shit.
even if I, but even if I do not believe in spontaneous human combustion, I don't know what to think about that. I don't think that is a good explanation. Do you think this could be possible to burn from the inside?
No, the fact that there's that much left of the person, you think if it was like a cigarette that fell on them and then their fabric went up into flames, you still have a charred body, but you just don't have anything besides like bone and ash, and then you only have the raw meat of bone and of feet or hands left over. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could find some there might be some pictures on Google of from the 1950s and 40s of some of these cases. But yeah, I don't know if there's any new cases of this. If it was just a time, like you said, someone farted next to the stove or a cigarette or weird suicides or murders. I don't know.
I remember seeing pictures of this stuff, and I remember people laying on the floor or sitting in the rocking chairs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were surprised by it. It looked like as if they were burned from the inside. You saw
Sure.
the hands were still there, the feet and
Mm-hmm.
parts of the arm, but
Mm-hmm.
everything else was gone. It's very strange, and there was no other fire near them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like nothing else caught on fire either.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it makes you wonder, like, how did it stay contained if it was from the outside? From the inside, it's easier to contain.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you all the liquid bubbles and that's all in our body, you know what I'm saying? It probably take a humongous force to get it going and keep it going. You know, I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't linked that to ETs or anything like that, right?
I thought I was about to
I'd
say
be like, huh.
to say that. Maybe
It looks like that guy got vaporized by a fucking laser.
aliens.
Yeah, I'm surprised someone brought that up. Or because some of the cow mutilations are kind of like got those burn marks and shit. I don't know.
I've talked to this German researcher. He's one of just a handful of dudes in Germany who's doing research on these cattle mutilations. But he's never saying aliens. He's never using the words aliens, the word aliens. But if you talk to him in private, he says it could be possible. But I don't want to say it. I always say it or something, maybe something multidimensional. And he told me this crazy stuff about sometimes they found some kettles or a cow or something like that, and it had a very, very tiny hole under the hoof.
Mm-hmm.
He said all the insides, like the organs, everything was sucked out through this hole. So it seemed, because there was no other hole in the body of this cattle, nowhere, and the only hole was in the hoof. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
It's insane, and you never find, you almost never find blood, not near the cow. No, there's no blood inside the cow. There's only just a little drop of blood left in the heart, he said. And they did research on that blood that they found at the heart, just a little bit. And he said there was no sign of stress hormones in this blood. So everything happens very, very fast. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well, thank God.
Man, we should really talk to Linda Moulton Howe about it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be, I tried, but she let me down. Linda, if you hear this, call me. If it's aliens, what do they want with all these cattle? What do they do with them?
Some kind of genetic harvest of some sort. But again, I don't know. It's just, yeah, why the cows? Why not other animals? I think there was maybe one horse. I think Snippy was the famous case when they first started having these mutilations.
Yes, I heard about that.
It was like was the only horse. And maybe there's been other horses, but again, it's mostly cows. I have no idea. Or again, you think you look back from our ancient cultures talking about these mixed creatures with half animals and half humans. Again, this could be proud of the products of what they're doing. You know, you might have another zoo on board their ship or another planet that they're, you know, they're putting all these creatures on.
Right, they're creating hybrids from like the Minotaur, something like that.
Yeah, the Minotaur. Yeah.
Man, crazy, man. I thought about that too. Why it's always cows and stuff like that? Why it's not deers or bears or a whale or a dolphin? Dolphin would be very interesting for an alien to do research on, because very intelligent. Why don't they snatch some dolphins or whales and try to communicate with them?
Well, it makes you wonder too. India finds the cow as a god, so it makes you wonder if there's a connection with India and all the ancient gods in India has.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.